Hey Thomas, Jeff Allen here. I'm sitting in McDonald's, coffee cup. Well, actually at lunch too, because I've been here since the morning. I'm Sunday morning. I'm doing a lot of videos and trying to catch up all these videos I wasn't able to do last week when I was coughing. I'm still coughing, but not as much. This afternoon I'm coughing a little bit more than I was coughing this morning because I'm doing a lot of videos. But see, proof. Still got my Halloween cough, right? Um, but and there it was kind of there was a it was calm this morning, and then lunchtime there were lots of people, and then it calmed down, and now 4 o'clock in the afternoon there's more people. It's goûter time, right? So, yeah, they're all doing goûters. So I have a little bit of background noise, but that's okay because we're talking about topics that are not confidential, right? It's all public information. But I want to address the topic that you just brought up today about the Dear John note email. Really cool kind of post. And I want to talk about it in two different angles. So I can see this in two different ways. And both ways are right, depending on the situation, right? Now, I do a lot of videos, a lot of my video books are not to bring more customers to me, right? It brings me more requests. Um, I'm not trying to build up more long-term customers for me, right? I'm just making publications that in the end will bring me more people. That maybe the companies I'm working for are going to have more customers, right? But I'm building awareness, right? And sometimes I'll point off to people like you and to Jessica and to others, to Renato and all kinds of people and all solution. I mean, all the MT providers, services. I mean, all things, right? All different areas. I'll point to many of you that are doing it because solutions, because I'm not offering always those solutions, right? But I've got a lot of experience in all of it. So I'll point to the state of the art stuff that exists today. Say, go like that person and go do that, right? It's referrals, right? Which I don't get anything out of, right? But people come to me because I'm vocal about it, right? So they'll come to me. Which, in the same way, people will point back to me, referring back to me for certain things, right? So, in the end, all kind of balances out, and the companies I work for benefit from this because people come for certain expertise, which I can offer. So it helps, right? Especially when other people can't offer that expertise, and that has happened. I've had that happen. But then my company didn't want to do it because like military enterprise stuff, right? So yes, I'm able to do this. Yes, I have the technology, and they have the $6 million, right? But I couldn't do it because my company didn't want to do military applications, so I couldn't do that one. But you see what I mean? So there are times when I offer a lot of stuff, and I think this comes down to what you're talking about the purpose for saying we don't need you anymore. Because a lot of stuff I do, I don't want people to come be dependent on me. I want to them become aware of the issue, have some ideas of how to do it, but my goal is for them to hatch the eggs and let the birds go fly away, grow up quickly and go live on, and then figure out the ways to do it for themselves. So I do a lot of that kind of stuff, intentionally not having people depend on me for long-term stuff, and that works because I'm just sharing and collaborating on certain things, right? There are other things, of course, where you got to lock down the people, and that's the second part of what you're talking about. Of building, and I did a video this morning talking about strategic account management. I did one on that, and I'm going to tag you somewhere in that one because I did a specific video on this specific topic. So I mentioned again in another video. But I brought up one of the key things was strategic account management and retaining customers. It wasn't actually a response to you. It was a response to another LinkedIn post in which I mentioned you, Jessica. But so we're going to talk about it again here. Just not as long, because you've already mentioned it. I have to explain it because you already know what I'm talking about, right? But the second half of the thing is when you do want to build in customer retention, and you don't do the things that make it that allow for that. And you know what I mean, right? Because you just mentioned on your post, you realize what you didn't do for that customer to keep them, which you want to, because you brought that person, that company, or the person and their company through a long struggle and held them thing. But then they realize that, and the quarter business reviews and all this stuff are great things. I mean, I've done a lot of this too. And then I'll say that I have actually not done it too, just like you said, and I've lost them. I've lost some opportunities to deal with conflict management. Do this, opportunities to deal with some things because I didn't put into place some things because I was actually waiting for others to do it too, who should have done it, but they didn't, because it was their job to do it, but they didn't do it. So then I have to depend on me to do it, right? But there were some, I totally agree. There are things in time, I'm going to put those things into place. There are times I put those quarter reviews or management reviews or what do you want to call these things into place because of ISO 9000, my certified, but I put it in the annual and quarterly business reviews for auditing, and that should really help the auditing thing. And when we got audited, it was great. But then I put in the little mini audits in place, and then we didn't have to do anything because we got rid of it. And sometimes good, sometimes not good. It kind of depends, right? Sometimes the problem with the quarterly management review, well, management reviews, audit reviews, what do you want to call these? It's an administrative thing, right? Sometimes see as a waste of time. And I would do all these mini audits and stuff we did, and I just come and say, look at the results of this. It's going great, bam, bam, bam. They say, boom, it'll make the meeting faster. But it's still seen as administrative overhead, no matter what you do. So this is kind of a key thing to see at what point is it building retention of business, funding, or visibility, or is it just being seen as another thing you got to do? And I mean, I've done both. I've kind of done things where I decide not to do it and decide to do it depending on what it was going to build up, right? So, I mean, you see what I'm saying too. I mean, there are times it's good and times it's not right, appropriate and inappropriate, or not so appropriate, because it's going to create more governance that people don't want. Depending on if you're Germany, you like governance. If you're other countries, don't like governance. So it kind of depends, right? But if it's going to help build the business and help retain the customers, in which they need the help and they like to have it, and if they feel like they're ready, but you're not feeling that they're ready, that's kind of where you kind of feel bummed, right? So this is always learning experience, and we always sometimes do things we realize that we should have done it differently to keep things right. And I've built this a lot too. I think a lot about this. That's maybe why I'm making a lot of these videos to explain, to watch it. But the problem is I'm always, the first offender of my own kind of guidance, right? And it's, this is always the key thing. So, figure out if it's appropriate, not appropriate. For me, it would have been appropriate for me to, in many situations, to just let that person go on and figure it out. I mean, in your situation, it was not the most appropriate thing because they could have still benefited from the service, right? It all comes down to that, and it kind of depends on what our offer is. And a lot of things I offer for myself right now are not. I'm offering for free. I'm not trying to charge it, right? And people will use it or not if they want to, because they don't have to pay for it. But then I'll point them to people like you and others who are offering the services. And the whole thing is to build the awareness so that the need for professional service, the paid professional service, the revenue-generating professional service is going to be valuable. And that can happen for a duration of time that's unknown. So it's a lot of points to consider. It's always things we have to just decide how we're going to do it. On different projects, I don't apply the same thing at every project. It kind of just depends, right? Totally depends. There's some I do things really radically different than others, depending on totally many factors. And I'm trying to get better at how to document those factors in easy ways so you can make quick decisions. And it makes me think of, I'll finish up on this, buying a car. I remember back, decision making is kind of a, whether or not you make a decision on, it's kind of an interesting thing. I tried this out with my son, teenage son, last year. It did not work because he didn't want to do it because dad was saying it. But it would help us make quick business decisions. What I did with my ex-wife was, when we were looking at cars, the first car or two, we didn't really think about it. We just went down and got it. But we started, having kids, then you got to start thinking about the factors, how big the push chairs or what do you call these strollers are, right? Number of guitars that bring in the car, right? Number, how much room you need. And what I do is I make an Excel sheet, and we put it when we start looking for vehicles, every 4 issues or whatever we look at. Because you're leasing vehicles, 3-4 year things, 4 years things. So every 4 years, we go through the same exercise. And we'd make columns of the features. I make this features columns, and then models of the cars, right? The vehicles. And then each feature, you just fill in things, have a value that you put in there. Yes, no, or 10, whatever the cubic meters or cubic centimeters, right? So, or whatever it was, yes, no, or something. We know for her. And so we do it, and so I do it, and I put filters and everything. So we'd fill in all the stuff with all the vehicles you look at, and let's say which one you could choose, right? You just set the filters, bam. You want to look on certain things, you can look at them, and look at it, you say, oh, that's duh. This is easy to answer the question. Made the choice of the vehicle much faster, right? So decision support. I created a decision support kind of Excel sheet, which made it easier to determine if the need is there anymore, right? Or a specific need. And what I'm doing right now is trying to figure out ways how to do the same kind of thing with a lot of things I'm doing to help people provide needs or not and provide services. And sometimes you have to decide whether you're going to do it or not, there's value or not. Finding ways how to do it that's not too administrative, right? So the Excel sheet workers are looking for a single car, right, for a number of weeks. So that helps. Looking for a house too, right? Same kind of thing. But sometimes some of the decisions don't need to have an Excel sheet to do this, right? So it's kind of easy to. When you have really complex decisions, it's really important to be able to do these things. When you got to make a really heavy investment, putting a lot of money into it, a lot of budget into it for certain purpose. So it kind of depends, and it all kind of boils down to is the need still there? How do you address it? And retain the customer, is that good or not? Finding ways to make the decision fast or not with them or not. It's just so many different factors. So thanks for listening. And great to see that all of us are growing, right? So have a good day.